But the gist of it is that the Toronto Blue Jays relief pitcher had Instagram stories where he said, I think it's a good idea to continue to boycott these companies like Bud Light and, Target. And they said he apologized for expressing support for anti-LGBTQ plus boycotts of Target and Bud Light. Now, here's the thing. You ever read one of those articles where they say, this person said a slur or this person said something offensive, especially in sports? He said a homophobic slur or he said a racial slur. Now, sometimes it's completely justified to be like, hey, you can't do that. I would never support. Like, I think you should be able to say anything in sports because if it's just something that's mean, even if it's completely bigoted and stupid and I don't agree with it, I think you should be able to play or say anything in sports because it's just a sport. You're in all these places, you're hurting each other. UFC, football, uh, basketball, you can do a hard foul. Hockey, you can fight, but and then you can't say mean words. Now I know UFC is never going to do anything like that. Football probably not going to be reported unless they have to. But in these sports, you're allowed to beat each other and hurt each other and break legs and arms and head, shoulders, knees, and toes. But you can't say mean things. Now, I say all the mean things. But what this guy did is he made a comment on his Instagram story to continue a boycott. And they say, um, it was hostile and homophobic criticisms and calls from the LGBTQ activists and all these other things. So they said he disrespected the LGBTQ community. Plus, I can't forget the plus sign. There's like 97 symbols now. So they call it an anti-LGBTQ plus boycott. And my point about bringing up these articles was that when they don't specifically say what these articles, my point in bringing up these articles was if they don't specifically say what was said, then it's likely that it's not actually anything that bad. It might have been something that you'd say in like grade 7 or 8 or 9, and they don't want you to know what it is because then you might disagree with the decision that it's the worst thing in the world and that people are going to die. And that's what they're doing here. Now, let's take the Bud Light one. Is disagreeing that a guy who said he's a girl now anti-LGBTQ and therefore not buying a product. No, like, so you're saying that if it's like saying that if you don't buy this product that then you're hate filled. Okay. And then when in the terms of Target, the reason people are boycotting that is because they had, gay pride and trans pride stuff targeted towards children and Target took it out because they see what's happening. Is it anti-LGBTQ to say, let's not buy things from that company because of what we believe in? I don't think it is. Just like when people said, I don't want to buy a chicken sandwich from Chick-fil-A because they're Christian. Now, I think those are wildly different things. Being a religion and trying to, get children into a certain sexuality and religion are different things. I'll go to a Middle Eastern guy, a Muslim guy's restaurant all day long. And I do spend years there, days there. But if I go into a restaurant next door and they're saying, "Hey, isn't it cool that a guy in a dress and clown makeup shows his ass in front of your kids?" I'm not going to be like, "Let me give this person money," because there's levels to this game, as they say, as maybe the game once said. There's levels to this game. So to claim that this is an anti-LGBTQ plus coast tan sign boycott is insane. And they took this guy out, this baseball player for the Blue Jays, Shadow Blue Jays. They took this guy into the back room and they said, if you don't apologize, we're going to do X, which is probably cut you because he's not exactly, top of the lineup here. He's not exactly the guy. He's about Colin Kaepernick level, you might say. Probably a little bit better because he still played. Colin Kaepernick wasn't playing when he did what he did. In case you haven't heard, he kneeled. But Colin Kaepernick and this guy are one saying America's terrible, and the other guy saying, "Hey, don't don't sell transgender things to kids. So they had him go out and they had him do this struggle session, which is not just my words, but tons of people said this is what's going on here. This looks like a struggle session to me. And I don't know if the Toronto Blue Jays have money or the major leagues have money involved with Target or money involved with Bud Light. They probably do have something with Bud Light, if I'm being honest. I don't know for sure. But it seems to me like they took this guy and said, "Hey, you gotta apologize because we're gonna cut you for X reason. We're gonna cut you if you don't." So here's Anthony Bass's apology.
I recognized yesterday I made a post that was hurtful to the Pride community, which includes friends of mine and close family members of mine, and I am truly sorry for that. I just spoke with my teammates and shared with them my actions yesterday. I apologized with them, and as of right now, I'm using the Blue Jays resources to better educate myself, to make better decisions moving forward. The ballpark is for everybody. We include all fans at the ballpark, and we want to welcome everybody. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
So he said all that, and obviously it was like a gun was to his head, and obviously they took him and they said, we're gonna cut you for being mean, basically, or they said we're going to cut you because we have advertising responsibilities to these companies. We can't allow you to support a boycott about them when you play in this league. That's all. I mean, that's fairly explainable, but it didn't stop there. Oh no, of course it did not stop there. You have Katie Davis Court here pointing out that the general manager told reporters that his statement is just the first step. Okay, it's just the first step. It's not going to be a 15 or 30-second apology and say, "Okay, I did my part." And the quote is, "There's going to be continued work with the resources we do have to try to show that he's understanding that he made a mistake." So basically, you need a re-education camp, and you're in Canada, so you're going to the Pierre Elliott Trudeau re-education camp for bigoted persons. And this is what you get in Toronto. I don't know how familiar you guys are with the Toronto Blue Jays media. They're terrible. The hockey media, terrible. All the sports media in Toronto is terrible. Now, you can't have this guy come out and say he supports a boycott of a brand in Target's case that's promoting, let's say risque things to children. You're not allowed to say that you support that. You're not allowed to say, I think it is good that you do not spend money here. If he went out and said, Ted Cruz is a zombie, or Donald Trump is an alien, or Marjorie Taylor Greene is on steroids, he'd get applauded by people. Maybe not on his team, but the liberal media would think he's amazing. And they do it on the right, of course, anytime an athlete agrees with them. The difference is this guy would not have to go through a struggle session in a re-education camp if he said something that was left-wing. I think that's really obvious to people. And if it wasn't the Toronto Blue Jays, if this was like the New York Yankees or the Boston Red Sox or the St. Louis Cardinals or the not in Canada, I think people would have a lot bigger problem with this than they do. And if he was a star player, they would have a lot bigger problem with it than they currently do. But it's absolutely insane. And the way they manipulate this is, again, by saying, he's saying all this anti LGBTQ plus minus divided by sign. They're saying he's saying all this stuff that's against them, right? And if they were actually saying what he was saying, then you wouldn't think it was that bad. And that's the problem with these topics like this. When you're so far, out in outer space with your opinions, that you think it's a good idea for children want to take hormones and get sex changes, then you have to sort of control the narrative. You can't just be letting people say exactly what it is. That's why they call it gender affirming care. You can't just be saying what the actual things are. You can't just be saying it's cutting breasts off, cutting genitals off. You can't just say that because you're not going to win that way. So they have to, the terms are obfuscate and omit. They just have to do all these things where it's like, I just watched a Jerry Springer clip, and this guy's having a relationship with a person he met on a phone chat, And then what is he? He turned out to be a morbidly obese woman or a trans person. I don't remember which one it was. I didn't watch the whole thing, but that's what you're going in. You have to, when you have something to hide, you really have to hide the actual reality here, or else you're not going to get anywhere. So this is kind of, the article's way, the Major League Baseball way of saying, you can hear my voice, but you can't see my face, if you know what I mean. Oh.
Turn it up, Jordan.